What's going on, guys? Tony Maritato here. I'm at the office. I've got patients waiting on me, but I wanted to record a little like reimbursement review, show you some Medicare numbers. It's the end of 2020. It's December 3rd today. So the new reimbursement amounts are going to be available, but let me show you based on 2020 numbers, how to understand Medicare reimbursement for Part B private practice. I'm going to share my screen. This is a part of my zero to paid Medicare billing. This is just an easy place for me to get some numbers. So let's take a look at this. Let me make it a little bigger. This is reimbursement for an initial evaluation in 2020. You can see that in this situation, the primary insurance, let me grab my little pen. Medicare is the primary insurance. Medicare paid $67.34. That's 80% of the allowed amount. The supplemental plan in the secondary position picked up $16.83. So total collected by my practice is $67.34 plus $16.83. The number in the middle, $25.83, that is the contract adjustment. That is not collected. Nobody's responsible for that. That represents the difference between what was charged and what was actually paid. And you can see here reason code 45. If you go and look up the reason codes, it essentially says this exceeded the allowed amount for this service. So let me show you. This is the actual payment information. Where do we get this information? How do we know ahead of time? So that's where we're going to go into the Medicare Physician Fee Schedule lookup tool. So if you Google CMS Physician Fee Schedule lookup tool, you can come down into here. This will take us out to the CMS website. We're going to click on that link. We're going to start our search. We're going to accept their terms. And this is where when 2021 is available, it'll show up here. We want pricing information. We want a list of CPT codes. We want a specific MAC because this varies by geography. I'm going to go with I'll go with 3 codes. So eval, exercise, manual. We want to choose all modifiers, and we want to choose our location. So my location's here in Ohio. I click submit, and what you can see here, we've got our 3 codes that we're looking up. You can see down here the eval code, which is what we just looked at. The allowed amount is $84.17. We are non-facility. You can see the limiting charge is $91.95. And just so you understand what that means, I am a participating provider contracted with Medicare. If I contracted as a non-PAR provider, I would be allowed to not accept assignment. I'd be allowed to charge the beneficiary up to 115% of the allowed amount for non-PAR providers. This is where it gets a little confusing. A non-PAR provider gets reimbursed 95% of a PAR provider. So if you took 84.17, found 95% of that, times that number by 115%, you would come up with the total limiting charge. That's the maximum that can be collected. So just so you kind of understand the math, if we charge 110 for this line item, Medicare says, let me go back to what we were looking at. We charge 110. Medicare says the difference between what is allowed for a participating provider and what you charge, that is $25.83 in this case. If we charge 120, this middle number would be $35.83. If we charged 150, it would be more. It doesn't matter. It's just, this is the adjustment. This is what gets written off. It's not tax deductible because that payment never came to you. You didn't lose that payment. It's just the discounted rate that you agreed to when you signed the Medicare contract. The 6734 and the 1684 should total. Let's do the math real quick. 6734 plus 1683 equals 8417. And when we look at the Medicare allowed amount, 8417. So you guys see how you do the math. And I tell everybody, reverse engineer the EOB so you fully understand what all of these numbers mean. Now, let's take a look at the second line item. So on this data service, we actually build 1 unit of eval and 1 unit of therapeutic exercise. Now, what you'll notice here is we have the 1888, which is what Medicare paid. That's their 80%. We have the 472, which is what the supplemental paid. We have the reason code 45, which is the normal contract adjustment of 1979. That represents the reduction based on the contract we agreed to. But then we also have $6.61, reason code 59. That represents the MPPR, the multiple procedure reduction. This is another really sticky point for a lot of clinicians. So the way MPPR works in a nutshell is Medicare will pay the full allowed amount on the highest relative value unit. In this case, if you're looking at 1 eval, 1 exercise, the eval is the highest relative value unit. Medicare pays the full allowed amount on that unit. Anything else that we bill, 1 other unit of exercise in this case, 3 other units of exercise, 1 manual, 1 extra, none of it matters. Everything after the first highest relative value unit gets reduced by MPPR. Now that I know the MPPR reduction for therapeutic exercise is $6.61, I can start to calculate that in my forward-looking projections. So if I did, for example, a new visit for this patient, and we did 3 units of exercise. The first unit would be paid at the full allowed amount. The subsequent 2 units would be paid at the full amount minus $6.61 each. I hope that I'm explaining that well. It takes a full module to really kind of get it and show examples and see how that works. But the idea for you is, while you might not have the exact calculation on how to figure out MPPR, you can use an EOB once that first claim is processed. Now I know for the rest of the calendar year, $6.61 is going to be my reduction on any unit of therapeutic exercise beyond what was paid at the full allowed amount. The last question I want to answer today, so when we're talking about, which this came from the post, Rob, this was your post, you know, what Medicare pays, what the 1888 is what Medicare pays, the 472 is what the supplemental pays. If the patient doesn't have a supplemental, if they don't have a secondary insurance, the 472 is what the patient responsibility is going to be. So again, once that first claim has processed, I know for the future, all future claims for that year, $4.72 on each unit of Therex in this example is what the patient responsibility is going to be. So guys, once you have a formula, take your formula from the EOB, confirm it with the CMS Physician Fee Schedule lookup tool, and now you know, okay, when I do a treatment that involves 1 unit of manual, 3 units of exercise, this is what the 20% coinsurance is after MPPR, after the contract adjustment. So if the patient doesn't have a supplemental, pick up that balance, the patient's responsible for this amount. And it's, as long as it's in the calendar year, reimbursement doesn't change, that is what it's going to be. Now for 2021, guys, keep in mind, we need to look at services delivered by an assistant, a PTA or an OTA. We got to look at those reductions and how those are going to impact your income impact what you're going to charge the patient if they don't have a supplemental or a secondary. So guys, I hope this information was helpful. This is the practical application. You know, when somebody's thinking about taking my course, I always say, look, the information is out there. It's nothing secret. I don't have a secret recipe. What I bring is practical application. What I bring is the ability to say, look, this is a real claim. This has been processed by Medicare. This is what they did. This is what it looks like. Now let's explain this and let's show how this can work. And if you saw my other videos where I talk about reimbursement, you know, I'm a big believer. Like if I have 4 Medicare beneficiaries, maybe instead of treating each one for 4 units and having the MPPR affect my income, maybe there's benefit to treating each one of them for 1 unit. Eliminate the MPPR reduction, increase the frequency. That's a whole different discussion. We'll get into it another time. Guys, I hope this information was helpful. If it is, as always, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video and share it if you have partners or anybody else that needs this information. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys on the next video.